This car, the 1968 Chevrolet Corvette, arguably one of the sexiest cars to ever come out of the 60s. With the simplicity, it went from a complete car to I just started tearing things apart, and it's only taken me like 10 minutes, and I've already got this side of the dash out, the center stack out, unhooked the wires, the oil pressure sender, and the wiper thing because my center stack bracket is broken half, and brought it out here. Such a sexy car. But it's a jalopy. I can tell you this car was not in its whole life taken care of very well. It's got multiple issues. I bought it from Bring a Trailer, so let that be a warning. Can you ever go and really buy a car on Bring a Trailer without looking at it first? Well, I found that yes, you can, because I bought a really nice low miles 2007 model of something. Beautiful. Anyways, 1968, you better beware. Anyways, I've got some, I don't have a clock, but I have a new faceplate. I've got some gauges, and they look pretty authentic. And because my center stack's broken in half, I can just wield this thing around. But what I got to do is take this thing apart, and let's just see about slipping some new gauges in there, because the only gauge that really works is the oil pressure gauge. And you know, the fuel gauge works sometimes, okay? I got to give you that. But I've never really seen it accurate or movement from water temp, battery. So we're going to dig into this. So in digging into this thing, you've got to get a little 1/4 inch. And it's got to be super skinny, because it's going to fit it right up tight against this cover wall. Let's just balance that right there. So once you do that, but you want to notice now these gauges. Notice how the clock is the only one that's separate. Like it'll come off altogether on its own. But these other ones, they were going to bolt through this whole piece. So I'm sure I'm going to find that real fun. And those are probably 5/16. Let's just take a quick peek behind this, and now would have been a good time to buy a whole new part number 6480851. Okay, so I know that the clock knob is sticking through there, so let's take the clock off. I know actually I see that's not going to help me, but I wanted to take the clock off anyway, just so I can see what's under here before I pull the whole thing off. Come on, baby. Oh, that bracket's really tight up against that little nut. I shouldn't be able to pull the clock out because of that knob anyway, but yeah, it's still there. So I know the knob, I think we'll take a tiny screwdriver, I believe, a super tiny screwdriver to unscrew that. I don't know. I had the clock set at I don't know, something to do with 68. get something for that. Where am I keeping a screwdriver that small, you might ask? Good question, because I don't know. Because I don't ever. My eyeglass kit. Okay, search is on. I think I got it. Well, believe it or not, this little Swiss Army knife, I was able to get the tiny screw out for the clock knob. Anyways, be it at that, let's turn this thing back over before my clock falls out. Let's pull the clock out. Now dang it, I should have bought a new clock, but look at how dirty this thing is. Either way, maybe if I clean the clock it'll work better, but I doubt it. I will put some power on it though and have a listen. Maybe I can make the, you know what, you never know. Okay, so that out of the way. Let's just pull this off carefully. You can see the gauge cover stays in there. And there's some other stuff here. Everything's very gross and needs some attention. And that's what we're going to do now. We're going to see how well I can transfer these replacement gauges into something that's almost 60 years old. So this is going to be fun. And we've got one already out of the box. Let's just look at it right now. I have to say, the color on these old gauges is really good. I mean, I assume that they're old gauges. There's a little difference. See how the rivets are smooth? These ones have little Phillips screwdriver heads. So there's a big clue right there. No screws. Vintage. Screws. Not vintage. Now the lines look very skinny on this one. Compared to this one, the lines are thicker. But the writing's close enough. We'll go ahead and swap it. We're definitely going to keep the old gauges. So this is the first one, fuel. Let's compare the next one. Oil pressure, which this oil pressure gauge works. I'm probably just going to leave it in here. Unless I can find some reason to not. So I'll get this out of the bag. Here's the back of the replacement gauge. So let's look at this one closely. The bar, the arching bar below the 35. See how it's thicker than the fuel gauge presented itself to be, and it's more in line with how thick this one is. So study that carefully. Numbers, the letters. So this one has rivets on the front. This is the replacement gauge, and this is the original gauge. So there's a difference, a little bit difference in color. Probably there could be, you know, some fading with the original gauges, but this one looks pretty darn good. Oil press. What's an oil press? All right. I like it. Now let's get the next one out. It's going to be battery. Replacement gauge. Original. See, this one is not even in the right spot. It's always been discharging just like that, so that's no wonder. Looking forward to this one. Be nice to see if the battery gauge will actually go on the plus side. So this one, pretty thick, robust. The font looks correct. That's cool. And the last but not least, water temp. Original gauge. Replacement gauge. So that's interesting. Only the fuel gauge had the screws on the front. These ones, no screws. Numbers and everything look very, very close. All right, I like it. So now let's go to look at the back. Look, there's even a date on here. I'll bet that's a date. So this one has a total of 4 posts. So let's just call it 2 and 2. Water temp. Now let's look at the back of the water temp. See what we got. Okay, there's definitely 2 and 2. So what it looks like I'm going to be doing is taking this off, this factory stuff off, and reusing it. So unbolt that whole thing, slip this in there, bolt it back. Okay. Now the next one, battery. Look at the back. 2 posts. Battery. 2. All right. Oil pressure. Now I would like to leave this one. I'm just going to go ahead and change it out. And we just, as you saw, that has 1 brass fitting on the back. Here's that guy. I see threads on the inside. There they are. So that's good. And then fuel. It's got a triple. All right. Should be pretty straightforward. And this stuff, this is for the seatbelt light. No, yeah, that's the seatbelt. You actually push the button to release it, or to make the light go out, I should say. So that must just go just like this. Boop. When you hit your little seatbelt reset button in your 68 Corvette, you're just moving this little piece right here. So that does work, and that's very cool. All right, let's get the switcheroo going here. I'd also like to point out that this is, you could do this without even looking if you can count to 4. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4. And all the gauges correspond. So I'm just going to take this whole thing apart so I could clean it, because that's just how I roll. And then we'll put it back together with these babies, and we'll get this clean. And I got a new lens, and I'm pretty stoked about that. So we'll get this going. Look at this. This old lens has been cleaned so many, probably never cleaned from the inside, but it's gonna be clean when I get done. 5/16 deep. I can only hope that the old nuts fit these, because these tiny little nuts are not 5/16. They're like quarter or less. Let's try my quarter on it. No, they're not quarter, so they're probably 7mm. All right, let that be a potential warning. I might be crossing SAE sizes with metric. That can be problematic. Oh boy, this is gonna be dangerous. I'll be looking at this video to figure out how to put it back together. Look at how these little things lock right into there. Okay, that's good. Oh, dang, that whole thing just fell right apart, didn't it? Oh yeah, it's a good thing I got this all on video, I hope. Oh, dude, this is hilarious. That one fell out. This one doesn't want to fall out. This is under that. Wow, and it even had washers between it. I'm gonna put this right like that. And then these three things. We're on top. Oh boy. Just drop this one out. Now this one, notice how this is on top. Oh yeah, that one didn't get stuck. Okay, and that this little guy is at the bottom. I'm gonna set this down. All right, that was quick. Now I have no idea how exactly it goes back together. No, I just took it apart. You know, I'm just gonna watch my video and refer in that fashion. So this stuff, it's all really simple, but you know, I get a little carried away. It's hard to watch every single detail as you're doing it. But look at inside here. You know, I couldn't resist taking this all apart at once just so I could clean it. Let's try this one. This is what this one looks like. And this, all right, I'm gonna, am I? All right, I'm gonna take this out because I just want to go immerse this thing in under some water, some running water. So I'm gonna remove this. It looks like I see the two mounting things right there. And giving this thing a bath. Urgh. Remember, these are almost 60 years old now, so try to be careful. Put this one up here on the upper right, since I'm going to reinstall this thing upside down. Just like so. That over there. Bath time. See how, look at this. Somebody wrote this stuff up here in the past. That's nice. As you can see, all the colors of the wires are already marked. So they were smart in the 60s. You know, they're helping a brother out, I guess. And the rest, we'll figure that out in a minute.